West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an issue.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
I hear we're not commutable.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up this hour, we're going to talk with both Ray Elliott and Michael McCoy. Ray's the president of the Colorado State Shooting Association. Michael McCoy's with Mountain States Legal Foundation. They are suing the state of Colorado over this recent effort to put a lot of restrictions on basically anything that's a semi-automatic gun with a detachable magazine. The suit arguing that this measure violates Second Amendment rights by restricting access to firearms in common use for self-defense and more. That's because starting August 1st, 2026, the law is basically going to prevent you from buying any semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and handguns with detachable magazines. That's a lot of them. And if you are going to buy one, you're going to have to go through sheriff-issued firearm safety courses in order to get an eligibility card. After completing up to 12 hours of training, passing a test, selling your kidney, and then going under more screening. So, is that right? In order to exercise your God-given, constitutionally protected Second Amendment rights. We'll be joined by them here in just a few moments. Now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Thursday morning. 63 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 87 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Italian fashion designer Giorgio Armani has passed away at the age of 91. Famous name in the fashion industry.
When the Trump administration came out and said they were looking at tariffs in auto, yes, we embraced that. We've reached out. We've been meeting with them weekly.
United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain says DJT's tariffs are helping the auto industry.
Commerce Department and U.S. Trade Ambassador Greer, Secretary Lutnick, we've had a lot of really good conversations. And we've seen, a lot of the good come out of that already. In auto, we've seen good signs where GM's already announced $5 billion in investment in bringing jobs back here in America. Stellantis, unfortunately, is still dragging their feet, trying to lobby their way out.
Fain says they're also looking forward to growth in the heavy truck industry across the country. The number of Americans filing first-time requests for unemployment benefits is up. The Labor Department says it received 237,000 initial claims in the week ending August 30th. A school in Thornton is temporarily closed after a garbage truck pulled down some nearby power lines. Investigators say the truck hit the electrical lines at York and 93rd Avenue on Wednesday, shutting off the power at York International School. A message sent to parents by the Mapleton School District indicated that the equipment damage was more extensive than expected. The school will be closed today, but district officials hope to resume classes tomorrow. A phone call between DJT and Ukrainian President Zelensky is set to take place today in another attempt to arrange peace talks with Russia. 47 says after today's conversation with Zelensky, he should know pretty much what we're going to be doing. Chicago authorities preparing for expanded illegal immigration enforcement in the coming days. Illinois Governor Pritzker says he's heard reports that a surge in, they always put immigration enforcement, and the national media never puts illegal immigration enforcement. That could happen soon, like mañana. ICE has busted a massive illegal alien pedophile network in California. 10 criminals arrested on Wednesday. Epstein survivors say they may compile their own list of his clients and urging the DOJ to release the names of those involved. Survivor Lisa Phillips said that victims know who the regulars were in Epstein's world as dozens gathered in D.C. to push Congress for action while the first set of related documents is made public. Marjorie Taylor Greene is pushing for the files to be released in their entirety. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. will be grilled on Capitol Hill today. Kennedy will go before a Senate committee examining the president's 2026 health care agenda, and Democrats will no doubt ask Kennedy about some recent controversial moves like firing the CDC director and some of his vaccine-related decisions. There is sabotage going on right now, reportedly inside the department. The left just hates that RFK Jr. is going after the pharmaceutical industry. House Republicans have formed a new subcommittee to probe January 6th. John Strand on X, he says, as someone who lived through the DOJ's fraudulent prosecutions and was imprisoned under a weaponized government, I will say it plainly. And he says they destroyed lives and they need to be held accountable. Amen. Joy Reid and some lady named Katie Fang, I don't know if it's Fang, they don't believe DJT was grazed by a bullet last year in the assassination attempt.
He's got these magical doctors who claim that he was shot in the ear, but his ear, I guess, grew back. He had a Duplo bandage on 1 minute, no bandage the next. We can't get a medical record from this alleged assassination. He was supposedly shot. We have nothing. We've got nothing.
Where are the investigative records? One day he slapped his maxi pad on his ear. The next day the ear is totally fine.
It's fine. And I remember being in mainstream media where we both used to work saying, isn't it odd that we've never asked for his medical records? And I got
wow. Blood on the right side of his face, and that's not good enough for these geniuses. And here they are. These two clowns don't even investigate the shooter and why he was cremated 10 days later. They don't bring that up. NFL kicking off tonight. The Cowboys taking on the reigning champions, the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. And the Broncos continue to prepare for Sunday's kickoff at 2:05 at Mile High against the Titans. 61 in North Glen, 62 in Parker, 63 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Some warm September temperatures today, but a cool down coming tomorrow. Will be mid to upper 80s and sunny this evening and overnight. As a front comes in, could see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms, lower 50s, gusty northeast winds. Brisk north winds and cooler. Only low 70s Friday with a few showers. Upper 40s Friday night, upper 70s Saturday. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, you want to get a gun with a detachable magazine, which isn't all that controversial. Most Glock handguns have a detachable magazine. But unless you want to have a six-shooter or a muzzle-loading rifle, you're now going to have to go through this process here. Okay, here's what it looks like for an everyday gun owner and person who wants to become a gun owner here in the state of Colorado. You first have to go get a background check. Then you go to your sheriff's department to request permission to get a training card. Once you get the training card, you get added to a list that's semi-private. But you get added to this list of prospective gun owners. You take that training card at this point, and you've already paid for a background check, and you've paid for whatever the sheriff's department will cost you to take your application for that background check for the training card. You take that training card to a qualified trainer. You go through an extensive training process over 2 days, 12 hours, plus a written exam that you will have to pass with a 90% pass rate. You'll then take that training card and the passing of the training test to a licensed firearm dealer or gun dealer store. And with that, you'll present both of them. They'll run another background check on you. So that's another fee you're going to have to pay. Then you would have to wait 3 days to actually get your firearm because the 3-day waiting period's already here in Colorado. So we're talking months to be able to get a firearm now. Just to get to the point that you can purchase that firearm, you've already spent possibly hundreds of dollars, if not more, just to get to that point. Well, our friends over at the Colorado State Shooting Association defending your Second Amendment rights along with the Mountain States Legal Foundation by suing the state of Colorado. They join us now. Ray Elliott, president of the Colorado State Shooting Association, and Michael McCoy with Mountain States Legal Foundation. Gentlemen, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Well, I'm going to start with you, Ray Elliott, president of the Colorado State Shooting Association. You've decided to bring a lawsuit to the state. Isn't this just a common sense effort to protect bad people from getting guns? What's wrong with the process I just described?
So I think that assumption, Jeff, not allowing bad people to get firearms, I think what you have to realize is the bulk of the people that have firearms today are law-abiding citizens, responsible gun owners, trying to exercise their constitutional right to be able to defend themselves. And we have this idea that, hey, it's the bad guys that are getting firearms. And the reality is there's no data whatsoever that supports it. In fact, say the guys that typically carry the guns are the good guys and really do a lot to protect innocent people. There's been a number of examples over the last several years where somebody who was carrying a firearm actually stopped a situation that would have resulted in tens, if not hundreds of deaths, where they've been able to stop a shooter. I think of the mall in Indiana. Even though the mall had a sign up that said, firearms not allowed, somebody went in there and took out the bad guy who was shooting at people, a mass shooting, and he wound up saving many, many lives in doing what he did. So this assumption that we're stopping the bad guys, no, all we're doing in the laws that Colorado's passing is making it more and more difficult for the law-abiding, responsible gun owner to be able to exercise their right to defend themselves, and we're not doing anything to stop the crime from happening and the criminals from doing the bad things.
That's Ray Elliott. He's the president of the Colorado State Shooting Association. They have filed a lawsuit along with the Mountain States Legal Foundation in an effort to challenge this new law. Now, what I find wild, Ray, is, 10 years ago, if you even hinted at the idea of any type of gun restriction in Colorado, you were recalled. Lawmakers lost their jobs for even publicly discussing the idea. Now, Democrats down at the state capitol have piled on with these laws. I mean, you not only have the concealed carry requirements that just got strengthened, right? You actually have to pass tests at a higher rate. You have to shoot. It's not just a warning class. It's not just an education class. They've added requirements there. They've now made a very burdensome, very onerous law in order for you to get a semi-automatic weapon with a detachable magazine. This is not that crazy of a gun. This is not a machine gun. It seems like they have put on real strict requirements to your average gun owner just to be able to purchase a gun. What is happening in Colorado?
Yeah, and that's interesting when you look at it. You're exactly right. And Jeff, that was, I believe, the magazine ban, the 15-round magazine ban that wound up in legislators being recalled. I was at the NRA National Convention this year, and when we would talk to people and they heard we were from Colorado, everybody is asking the same question. Colorado is viewed as a hunter-friendly and outdoor state, and yet we're putting on these crazy restrictions. And I think at the end of the day, what we see is a far-left agenda. And when you look at Senate Bill 25003, the original version of it was to eliminate the ability to buy most firearms. And then, as you just stated, they've made all these burdens that are going to cost the average person hundreds, if not upwards of $1,000, in addition to buying the firearm itself. What are they doing? They're trampling on our rights. And just remember in the advertising that we see every time elections happen, who is taking away whose rights? All right, our rights are being trampled on a daily basis. And when you look at the magnitude of the laws, I have a sheet here. We have over 24 laws that have been passed over the last 2 to 3 legislative sessions trampling on the rights. If you're under 21 years old now, you cannot purchase a firearm or ammunition in the state of Colorado. And now we have this crazy, burdensome 25003 that goes into effect. A large portion of it goes into effect August 1st, 2026, which is going to make it very restrictive on the average person. You mentioned it. You have to go through a training class, 12 hours over 2 days. You can't do it in one day. It has to be done over 2 days. And by the way, if you still want to conceal carry, you've got to go through the whole process of getting your concealed carry permit, which is additional training. Again, we're not opposed to training happening. We think it's absolutely critical that training occurs, but that's not the government's mandate. People can get their training from their family, from other people, and not have to go through these programs that are costly and that are burdensome. And you think about this, Jeff, you mentioned the idea. It could take months. We have no idea when you have to go through the course. Right now, there's a massive backlog for hunter safety training. Okay, now you're just trying to buy the gun and you're going to have to wait months. What if you have a restraining order, you've been in a domestic violence situation, and you cannot purchase that gun, and now you're going to be at risk if you want to purchase the gun, and who knows how long it will take, plus how much it will cost, and will people even be able to afford it, in addition to the cost of the gun, along with the wonderful 6.5% excise tax you have to pay on top of all of it. It's crazy. This is not Colorado. This is not the Colorado any of us remember, and this has happened literally over the last 10 to 15 years in the state, and really over the last 3 years is when the bulk of that legislation has come through, which is why we are suing on Senate Bill 25003 with a great partner in Mountain States Legal Foundation, who's just had incredible success on a 7-day waiting period, Ortega versus Grisham, in the state of New Mexico. In our federal district, they said that law was unconstitutional.
That's Ray Elliott, president of the Colorado State Shooting Association. And Ray, before I get to Michael McCoy and the Mountain States Legal Foundation, I think it's important for people to understand the reality, too, of living in rural communities. Like you mentioned, multiple day training, okay? For me to get my kids to soccer, I have to drive 40 minutes, okay? And we've heard this from gun owners or gun shop owners, okay? When people from rural Colorado, Eastern Plains, Western Slope, all that stuff, drive into a community to get some work done, whether that might be purchasing a new weapon or attending a class, okay? This is sometimes 45 minutes, an hour and a half, sometimes even longer. I got a state senator in my district. He has to drive 3 hours to get to other parts of his district, all right? And these rules that are going to be burdensome upon rural Colorado, now you've got to come back multiple days. Like if you want to buy a weapon, for instance, you now have to put that back on your schedule to drive another hour to get to that gun shop because you wanted maybe a .22 to shoot some predators that are harming your livestock. All of this gets built in. It's like the people that wrote these laws have no connection whatsoever to rural Colorado, don't really care that it's them that are going to have to assume these burdens. And as a result, rural Coloradans have to pay the price. Ray Elliott, president of Colorado State Shooting Association, thank you for leading this lawsuit. Stick around with us. I want to talk now to Michael McCoy, Mountain States Legal Foundation. He's the director of the Center to Keep and Bear Arms. Michael, doesn't the Second Amendment have to do with a militia, a well-regulated militia? What does this have to do with people's rights to own a gun? And isn't this just a common sense rule and restriction to keep semi-automatic weapons out of the hands of mass shooters?
Well, the Second Amendment doesn't just apply to the militia. I mean, it applies to every single American. It's an individual right, just like the right to free speech in the First Amendment or the right to practice the religion of your choice in the Second Amendment. This is an individual right that all of us have. It's not given to us by the Second Amendment. It's not even given to us by the government, certainly. It's given to us by God, by the mere act of our birth. The Second Amendment is there to protect that right, and it is a right to self-defense. And so that's what we're trying to protect here. And this notion that this only applies to the militia, that was put to bed 15 years ago in the Supreme Court's Heller decision permanently. So that's uncontested at this point, and courts have to follow the decision in Heller. They also have to follow the decision in Bruin, which is laws like this have to have some sort of historical analogy from the time of the founding. At the time that the Second Amendment was being proposed, debated, and ratified, would the founders, the ones who were pushing forward with this amendment, would they have recognized this type of law as being something that they support, that falls in line with their belief that every man and woman and child in this country has the right to defend themselves? And the answer to that is clearly no. There is no historical analog to support a law like this. It is so broad, so universal. It is the firearm equivalent of a poll tax, where the government can stand in front of you, Governor Polis, and say, hey, we're not really banning these firearms. We're just, putting in safety requirements. Well, that's nonsense. There's, as Ray outlined, there are so many steps, so many requirements, so many fees that have to be paid that anyone but the most, wealthy and full of time person who can devote all the days and time necessary to attend this training is going to be able to satisfy. This means it cuts out a huge part of the population of Colorado who simply will not be able to go through these steps because of cost or time commitments, and therefore will not be able to buy one of these firearms. And we're talking about law-abiding citizens. I mean, to your point about keeping guns out of the hands of bad guys, do you know where the bad guys get the guns? Do you know where the street crime happens? What type of weapons are used for street crimes? It's from people who are buying guns on the street illegally. This law does nothing for that. And to Ray's earlier point, maybe the state, if they're worried about gun crime, should start enforcing the laws that are already on the books and start prosecuting and incarcerating the people who are committing the vast majority of gun violence in this country, 99% of it, which is violence that's happening on the streets and with guns that were acquired illegally on the streets.
That's Michael McCoy. He's the director of the Center to Keep and Bear Arms at the Mountain States Legal Foundation. He's joining with Ray Elliott, president of the Colorado State Shooting Association, in a lawsuit against the state. Now, gentlemen, I want to ask you this, and Michael, I'll throw the question to you, being the attorney. What's the process here? This law passed recently at the state legislature. It's deemed constitutional in the sense that it was passed by the state legislature. It automatically has that. So you've got to sue it. It's not going to be enforced until August 1st of 2026. So tell us next steps. Should people, for example, race out there and try to purchase a semi-automatic weapon with a detachable magazine while the time's still short? What's the likelihood of this succeeding? How long is it going to take? All those details.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, in regards to the training components that we've outlined for purchasing a semi-automatic firearm, that doesn't go into effect now for about 11 months, the beginning of August of next year. So if someone wants to purchase a semi-automatic firearm and get around this training requirement, yes, I would recommend doing it before then. But we're suing on behalf of plaintiffs who, in the case of one of our plaintiffs, he's 19 years old. He can't buy a firearm right now, right? He can't buy one before August of 26. And so, and for any of those whose job involves the use of these firearms, who because of physical disability are required to use these types of firearms and will need to purchase them in the future. And on behalf of all Coloradans, we're bringing the challenge now, 11 months early, because our hope is that we can convince the district court judge to strike this thing down before it even goes into effect, at least the training component part of it. But that's in Colorado, and unfortunately in the District of Colorado, that's somewhat of an uphill battle. Because of just the nature of the court in this the federal court in this district. And so we're going to keep fighting this regardless of what the results are at the district court level. We will keep pushing this, like we did in the Ortega case, up the court chain to the appellate court if necessary, and ultimately, if we need to the Supreme Court of the United States, until this law is firmly and very clearly put to bed, which it needs to be.
All right, I want to ask Ray Elliott this question, president of the Colorado State Shooting Association. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, all the laws we currently have, we have red flag laws. So if there's a concern about mental health, the state can step in. I think they're unconstitutional, but the state can step in and remove your firearms without due process. That's where my concern lies. If you want to get a weapon and carry it in a concealed manner, you got to go through pretty long course. It's an all-day long course, and then you have background checks. If you want to purchase a weapon, it's a 3-day waiting period. That's even if you have a 22. Now, if you want to buy, and then we have the magazine bans, bump stock bans. If you want to purchase a semi-automatic weapon with a detachable magazine, again, not an uncommon gun. In fact, I think most guns do have these. That's like a Glock. You're now going to have to go through this very vigorous review process, multi-day training, all that. Do you think they've reached a point where they believe they've done enough? Do Democrats, and the reason I bring this up is because I don't think they're very, I think they're disingenuous in what they ultimately want to achieve. I think at the end of the day, what they want is fewer guns, period, across the board. So they come up with any possible way to try to remove guns, and these are just rules stacked on top of rules, stacked on top of rules, to the point where the average person just goes, I'm not going to go through with it. And as a result, I'm just not going to purchase a gun. I think Democrats look at that and go, yes, that's what we want. That's the point of all of this. Your thoughts, Ray Elliott?
Yeah, Jeff, you hit the point, but do I think they're done? Oh, heck no. Right, we look at what happened in the last 2 legislative cycles. How could it get worse? And Jeff, it did. It continued to get worse. In fact, one of the things that's interesting to me, having followed what happened at the state capitol and everything, back, not in this legislative session, but the one prior, there was a bill that went to committee to make stealing a firearm, and Michael mentioned that comment, that the bulk of gun violence occurs with illegal arms, illegal firearms, and many of those are stolen firearms. So back in the previous legislative session, in the committee, they tried to pass a bill that said if you steal a gun, regardless of the value, it's a felony. Couldn't even make it out of committee. Our good friend, Ryan Armagost, in this last legislative session, partnered with the Democrat, Monica Duran, and they actually were able to get it out of committee, and it passed into law. This is something we look at and say, that is excellent. We know that gun violence is committed with illegal guns, and many of them stolen, so passing legislation that makes it a felony if you steal a gun, okay, is a wonderful thing. But to Mike's point, it needs to be enforced. We don't need to slap the person on the hand on a personal recognizance bond. If you steal a firearm, my guess is your intent with that firearm is something really, really bad. And we need to end that. And I do appreciate what the legislature was able to do, what Ryan Armagost was able to do on that bill, and to actually get it through, partnering with the other side. But I do not think they're done. There's groups such as Everytown and Brady that are out, Jeff, to eliminate all firearms altogether. They do not see why people need to have them in today's environment. And yet you talk, as you said, about rural Colorado. I was talking to somebody the other day at our press conference, 40 to 45 minutes for a police response to a school in a rural area. Even in the metro area, in a more urban area, by the time the police typically arrive, any mass shooting event is over with at that point in time. Very seldom do they go on for a very lengthy period of time. The police can't get there. The police don't have a duty to protect us. We need to understand that we need to protect ourselves, and why the Second Amendment is so critical. And having said that, I want to mention an event that Colorado State Shooting Association has coming up on September 20th and 21st down in Colorado Springs. It's called Colorado Shoots for Freedom. And what we're going to do there is you're going to have the ability to fire firearms that you normally would not, or would have a difficult time possessing. We would love to invite everybody to come. It's under our website at cssa.org/events. What's going to happen with this money? This will go to fund additional lawsuits in the state of Colorado. Understand, our board is a completely volunteer board. I am not paid, and not a single one of our board members is paid at all. And we want to be able to partner with organizations like Mountain States Legal Foundation, but obviously it takes money. And when you look at these 24 or more different laws that have been passed over the last couple of years, there is so many things we can shoot at. We didn't even mention what Denver's done. Hey, you want to go to a Denver park now? Where I live, just up the street, half a block, we have a park where there was a shooting and somebody was killed. I can no longer legally carry a firearm in that park because of laws that the city of Denver has passed. Again, you just look at all this stuff, and folks, they're going to make it where we will not have the ability to defend ourselves. And I think our hope is, and I'm sure Mike would say, we hope we never, ever have to use a firearm to defend ourselves. But should we have to, what else would you want to have other than a firearm? And unfortunately, Colorado is making it where nobody, if they had it their way, nobody would have it at all. In fact, some of the legislators have said they want an abolition of firearms altogether. A former Representative Elizabeth Epps, Tim Hernandez, and that sentiment, Jeff, as you've mentioned, is very prominent there, not just amongst the people that are on the far left, but even amongst some of the more mainstream Democrats at the State House that want to limit the ability to purchase firearms. And we've seen it because this bill passed.
Well, and it's not just taking away the guns, eliminating that. It's taking away guns from citizens. Because remember, there's three types of groups that can own guns, right? Criminals who steal them, use them illegally. People that are law-abiding, members of the Colorado State Shooting Association, take this seriously, want to defend their families, to defend their livestock, and protect America and keep it free. And then you have the government. And I just want people to understand this. Not once in all of this 10 plus years of all of these laws being introduced at the Colorado State Capitol has a Democrat led the effort to make sure that the government has fewer guns. It's always law-abiding citizens they try to restrict. Hey, Ray, with Colorado State Shooting Association, Ray Elliott, president, thank you so much for your time. Michael McCoy, Mountain States Legal Foundation, the tip of the spear in securing and protecting your Second Amendment legal rights. Go to CSSA.org, CSSA.org to support the Colorado State Shooting Association, and go to mslegal.org to support Mountain States Legal Foundation. Guys, these court cases, very expensive. It takes a lot of financial support. Donate to those two great organizations, and let's protect our Second Amendment rights for future generations. Gentlemen, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, let's talk advanced hair restoration. If you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Pauls, modern technology, and best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver, and it's changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out their before and afters online for yourself by visiting 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com. advancedhair.com. All right, would love to hear from you. Is this an important safety component to our communities? Look, Colorado's no stranger to mass shootings. Some of the worst atrocities of mass shootings have taken place in this state. Is this restriction, Senate Bill 25003, signed by Governor Jared Polis, an important step in securing our communities from crazy people? Yes, it may seem burdensome. It's 12 hours. It's background checks. But if you're going to carry a weapon of that caliber, that can do that much damage, this state has a compelled interest in making sure that you're trained and reviewed in order to have a weapon, semi-automatic weapon with a detachable magazine? Or are Democrats just being disingenuous in all of this? That this is just one more step in all the lists I've already done: red flag, concealed carry, magazine bans, to get guns out of people's hands. At the end of the day, they would ban guns entirely. And that's the real motivation here. What do you think? Give us a call. Phone lines open 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Second Amendment advocates with the Colorado State Shooting Association suing the state, saying that this recent law that was passed, Senate Bill 25003, creates way too many hurdles in order to purchase a semi-automatic rifle, shotgun, and some handguns with a detachable magazine. Think like Glocks. The magazines would have to be permanently fixed, welded, or soldered. And then in order to purchase those, you'd have to go through a sheriff-issued firearm safety course that requires 12 hours of training over multiple days, passing tests, undergoing multiple levels of screening. Is this just common sense? Our society's out of control with gun violence. You want to own a weapon of war, you need to go through this type of stringent training and analysis and evaluation. Or it's just another level, another effort to continue to whittle away your Second Amendment rights so that the only people that have guns, well, it looks like Chicago or New York City, criminals and the government. And you out there that want to protect your family, your livestock, well, too bad. You don't get a gun. Breadman texting in, combine gun control with tax policy and the government, and the leftists just want to disarm you, take your treasure and your blood. Wow, strong words. Let's go to Jim in Denver. Good morning, Jim. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hey, good morning, guys. We've got far too much government, too many darn layers of government. But when it comes to guns, I think because of the nature of our country, we need to confiscate guns from Democrats and probably just give them to Republicans. I mean, because we've determined that Democrats are pure evil, so why would we fight for Democrats to continue to have guns? They're probably just going to shoot us with those guns. And then on top of that, you look at what's going on in the South. The South is getting all these manufacturing future jobs for electric this and everything else. Those people, those businessmen down there are going to they're going to drag in millions of foreigners, most likely from Africa, Muslim Africans. And I don't think that we should allow them to have guns. I think the guns should just be for the rural and rural-minded people at this point.
Jim, I do want to ask you this question. You know, Democrats often say that health care is a human right. They run out there and say health care is a human right. And as a result of it being a human right, that the government should pay for it. I think that's a misunderstanding of rights. But I wonder if we believe that the Second Amendment is a right, and we're saying that health care is a right and should be paid for by the government, shouldn't the government buy guns and ammunition for its people?
No, I started this out by saying there's far too much government in the first place. And if we're going to allow evil to be in this country, we should at least, and I'm talking about Democrats, and we can't shoot the Democrats, but at least we can do is confiscate the guns they have so that they can't shoot us, right? I mean, we can't have two political parties we just can't have two political parties. We've got to be fighting with someone. So the Democrats should not have guns. I don't care what the NRA says, trying to boost their sales. All right? The Democrats are evil, and if we can't shoot them, then at least we can do is take their guns so they can't shoot us.
Well, I think most law-abiding Americans and citizens would disagree. I don't think that we should be shooting anybody from either party. We already went through that as a country. Didn't we? Didn't we already go through that as a country?
I don't know. There have been
shot
some people,
each other over
there's
political
some people
differences.
talking about the idea that we should settle this with Second Amendment solutions. And how often have we heard people talk about heading towards another civil war? And how often do we have states or
Not
even
good.
counties going, we need to secede from the union? Idiots. Yeah, because that's not how it works. You can't just voluntarily say, hey, we leave the union. There's a functional process, and the union has to agree to that. But, you know, details, people. Why actually worry about that?
Let's talk Black Eyed Pea, Colorado. I want to talk to you about this great restaurant, guys. This is, look, they're not dealing with the craziness that Cracker Barrel's dealing with, right? You don't have that. You have way better quality food than fast food. And it's about the same price. So you get great maha, locally sourced food. You don't get all the woke craziness. And it's all throughout Denver. 8 locations. You'll absolutely love this restaurant. My entire family does. All 3 generations. My parents, us, and the kids all find food we enjoy. It's home-style cooking at its best. As I said, 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Bottom line, you want to take your family out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea. Go online at blackeyedpeacolorado.com to check out their featured menu, which they run throughout the different seasons of Colorado. They have a special barbecue menu. They have a special burger menu, potato menus, and more. They've built a reputation in Colorado for the best home-cooked meal away from home. They also do catering. If it's a dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event, make it a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great for your special someone, birthday favors, or holiday presents. They've got you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will too. Support local like I do. Keep it in Colorado and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, lots of text messages coming in. Phone lines are open if you want to join the conversation. Colorado has a new gun restriction law. If you want to purchase an AR-15, semi-automatic rifle, shotgun, some handguns, anything with a detachable magazine, you're going to have to go through a sheriff-issued firearm safety course. It's over 12 hours. It requires you passing a test. And is this an important step towards securing safety or just another disingenuous step to what Democrats ultimately want to achieve, which is a repeal of the Second Amendment as an individual right and the confiscation of guns?
Now, Jeff,
join the conversation.
Got a question for you.
Yes.
This is what I want tonight. Hopefully, maybe the audience can help us out on this one. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. I hear all the time that those individuals that have gone through hunter safety classes and concealed carry permit classes are the most responsible and safest gun owners. If that is the case, convince me more gun owners shouldn't go through training classes. That if those are the most responsible ones, why wouldn't we want all new gun owners to be among that most responsible group? Convince me I'm wrong.
We'll talk about that and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Colorado Senate Bill 25003, signed by Governor Jared Polis, puts a lot of new restrictions on your ability to purchase a gun like an AR-15, semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, basically anything with a detachable magazine. You now have to go through sheriff-issued firearm safety courses, 12 hours of training. You got to pass some tests. In addition to your background check, in addition to your concealed carry, it's just piling up. And the Colorado State Shooting Association, along with Mountain States Legal Foundation, suing, saying this is a violation of Second Amendment rights. What do you think? Mark Aurora. Good morning, Mark. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hi. I was calling to answer Bill's question about if the training made, or the most responsible people were trained individuals. I say that it goes to motivation for that training. You know, somebody voluntarily goes is responsible by nature. And I liken it to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where McMurphy was there and he was committed, and he had a much different result as opposed to the other people that were there, and they were there voluntarily.
I like that. I appreciate that, especially the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because that's a great twist that he's trying to avoid regular prison and going to think what he has taken the easy way out that ends up lobotomizing him. And it's a great little twist inside there. I like the idea inside of the motivation. Now, let's explore this just a little bit more, Mark. I like where you're going with this when I can see how functionally forcing someone to go to a class they don't want to go to may not make them a responsible gun owner. Just like we've seen that teenagers that don't want to go to math class don't do the homework and they don't do math. So would that then lead Democrats to say we need to do a larger exploration as to why and to find the motivations behind the individual purchasing the gun? Could they take your argument about motivation to do that class and say, well, then obviously if we want to have the safest gun owners, we have to figure out why you want the gun, because then we know we're going to be safe. I know it's a little bit twisted and stretched, but what do you think about that idea?
I fall back to where, if you've ever gone to a gun show, everyone there's a gun owner, and they're the most polite to each other there than anywhere else. People don't bump into each other. People don't. You see people following the best social etiquette probably of almost anywhere, and I think that's what people being on an even footage with one another fall into. So if you started a program to promote women with guns or young women with guns, where, say, college age women, I guess you got to be 21. So graduating from college, you said, hey, why don't you go out and buy a handgun? And just in case. And she's now on footing with, who knows, somebody that may want to do her harm or rape her or something like that.
Does motivation then come into that? Because do we go back to the same example when I'm saying, making someone go to a class? If you're telling those young women to get a gun, does that motivation for them in self-preservation fix into it as well? The idea that maybe the woman that doesn't really want to own a gun doesn't necessarily take it as seriously. And, unfortunately, we're running out of time here, Mark. Okay, you got to call us back another day, because one of the things, man, you and I got to talk about is some of the change in gun culture, because I would love to see and talk to you about your experiences going to gun shows and seeing how it's changed over the years, because it's one of my, layered conversations, is that we've changed how we view guns and what's important just based on the gun shows. But, Mark, great call, man. Give me a call another day. We got to do this.
Always appreciate the conversations. Thanks for everybody for joining us. During the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with folks about the upcoming Littleton Restaurant Week, as well as Centennial Institute's Impact Summit. Lots of news coming your way. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill